Hey guys, GW Skeptic here for yet another AI test. This one is going to be a completely different direction from our chess one. Our chess one was a coding challenge. Um, and right now we're on video number 3. Technically, this is episode 2. I don't think I'm going to count my introduction, even though I said ChatGPT won that. So ChatGPT won the chess one. So far, ChatGPT is up 1-0. So this test is going to be very different. This test is going to actually focus on the language portion of the models. And all we want to know here is we're going to ask a series of weird, nonsensical, and inaccurate questions to a very obvious degree. And we're going to judge which one comes up with the best response. And the responses are going to be scored on um, number one, does it tie in the does it understand that the question is weird and not a serious question? Is it going to desperately try to create something out of what has little to no meaning? Or number two, is it going to create um, a meaning out of it that is unique, not generic sounding, not but where it will provide you with a great response that provides either some form of information, or just some creative response in general. Like maybe it'll tie something in that actually does make sense, where the question isn't a weird question. Um, so for example, like if something were to answer, what is the square root of a pi, and it tells you the square root of pi, the number, then that's not a very good response because that's not what's being asked. And if it tries to shoehorn something, that's gonna be wrong. So there's gonna be a lot of questions here. So we're gonna first of all, you're gonna get scored. Let me prepare stuff on my end here real quick. ChatGPT and Grok. So I got something off screen here, and we're gonna ask 20 weird questions, and we're gonna score all 3. And I think the best way to do this is I'm going to have 3 scores for all the AIs. A score of 1 means it provides an excellent response. And does a little bit of creativity with that response. It does something with nothing that's actually productive or fun or funny or something. A score of 0 means it recognizes that it's a weird question or a dumb question, but it doesn't really do anything with it. And this will even include, like, if it tries to, for example, like, say, did you mean this? And it'll start providing, like, examples, and then it'll just try to be, like, very realistic. That's going to get an answer of 0, because it understands what it is, um, but doesn't do anything with it. And then you're going to get a score of -1 if it doesn't understand significantly or at all that it's a weird or nonsensical response. Right? So I think that's pretty clear. I don't think there's a whole lot of room for judgment. So let's start with Gemini, and we're going to start with the example that we just gave. What's the square root of a pi, Gemini? And we're going to use the strongest model for each of these just to come up with the answer. Okay, it's thinking. It depends on which pi you mean. Yep, here we go. This is exactly what I did not want. If you mean literal pi, the food, Yeah, so this gets a 0 for that answer, so we'll go ahead and mark that with 0 for Gemini. Yeah, because obviously food doesn't have a square root. But yeah, it's a little too generic. So let's ask Grok. Grok, what is the square root of a pi? And we're gonna run this through expert mode. We want to have the best understanding possible because some of these are going to be very abstract. Okay, now we can go through its thinking. That's the thing we can't do with Gemini, really, is can't really go through its thinking. So this is asking kind of the same thing. Um, and yeah, it doesn't understand that the question's nonsensical. So Grok gets -1. So there's that. Let's see if ChatGPT understands what we're talking about here. Let's see, what is the square root of a pi? Okay, and I guess I'm gonna go through two responses because it's trying to um update itself. We'll go with it. Did you mean pi or a pi? So um this is a better answer because at least it provides um something, but pi is around, cornbread is square. Yeah, that's a little bit better for response, but it's not quite what I'm looking for a score of 1. Um, let's see. So yeah, this is a better response, and I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt and give it a 0. So right now, Grok is more the loser than anything. Now this is kind of just the start, right? So we'll go to question 2 here. Is let's see, we'll create a new chat. Let me just make sure these are all appearing correctly. Okay, they are. I just need to make sure they are on my end. Okay, so Gemini. All right, here's question number 2. I've been searching for a chess opening. Would you recommend the Botez Gambit? Now, for those who aren't in the chess, the Botez Gambit is a meme. It's not really an opening. What it is there's a fairly highly rated chess player who streams a lot on Twitch named Alexandra Botez, and she will lose her queen a lot, which is in chess the most powerful piece. You lose your queen, you're pretty much losing the game, right? And she will very occasionally just like lose it. Very highly rated chess player, but she will blunder it in all kinds of different occasions. And so it got known as what's called the Botez Gambit. She giving away her queen. So yeah, it's not a real opening; it's a meme. So let's just see who recognizes it. How much do they recognize it? Okay, a look behind the meme. So this is explaining what the meme is. It doesn't really do anything with it. It does explain it, but so this is another 0 for GPT. Not a very creative response. Or I mean Gemini, excuse me. Okay, so let's go to Grok. Would you recommend the Botez Gambit? Isn't a recognized chess opening in traditional theory. It's more of a humorous meme, so it understands the meme. And it's actually trying to give regular openings, which again isn't really what, if you're responding with a meme, you kind of want something to be funny, right? It at least it's kind of hedging its bets, and that's what these AIs will do in these situations. And I kind of expected it, but you know, you want a little bit more creativity than that. So Grok gets nothing. So let's do GPT. I've already asked GPT this. I think I already know how it responds. Okay, would you recommend the Botez Gambit? ChatGPT. Now, the reason I ask it this question, this is kind of more of a benchmark for me, is um, no, like it used to be up until a couple years ago. You ask this question to an LLM, it would treat it like a legitimate opening used by top grandmasters. It didn't understand that it was a meme. And I would actually poke fun of ChatGPT based on this, and I would post the responses. And it's only recently that they got better with this type of question. Short answer, no. The Botez Gambit is a meme for blundering your queen. It's not a real opening. So this is kind of like Grok. It's giving you examples, and in usual ChatGPT standard, it is being very wordy about it, but it understands it's a meme. So, yeah, there's those two questions. Now, these questions are going to start getting weird. So, um, here's my third one. Basically, this is going to be utter nonsense. And I want to see if it tries to make meaning out of the nonsense, if it finds meaning out of just randomly typed characters. If it understands that it's randomly typed characters. Or let's just see how it's going to respond. Because I don't know if I've ever done this in particular. This appears to be a random sequence of letters. If you have a question, if there's something I can help you with, please let me know. Okay, so it understands, but generic. It understands that it's random, though. So let's ask Grok, see if Grok knows. Might be a random string or possibly a typo. Let's see what expert mode does, because we want to do these in expert mode if we can. Yeah, it looks like a random string of letters, so they all seem to understand that it's just random letters. Let's see if GPT understands, because I'm sure they get this a lot too, so maybe the AI is just... Okay, mistype, want to try again. If it helps, I can jump back into these quickly. Chess openings or Python chess. So it actually recognizes yeah, see, it recognizes previous stuff that I've prompted, which is nice. That's a nice little touch. I'm going to give ChatGPT a point. It's not fun, but it's useful. So I'm going to give it 1. So ChatGPT has 1. Because it's actually pretty unique. Because, it tries to come up with a conversation starter. It's not just asking generic nonsense. And that's what I'm looking for. That's all I'm looking for, really. It's just don't ask generic nonsense, right? Okay. So this is a fun one. Now this is like an equation that can't be simplified. What is the answer to the math equation? X is equal to Y. Obviously, you can't simplify this, and there's no way to deduce the terms. So we just want to see what direction are they going to go with this. Okay, means that the value is x always equal to the variable y. It's not a problem to be solved in a single numerical answer, but rather a statement that defines a perfect one-to-one relationship between two variables. You know, it's a decent answer. It doesn't actually try to answer it. It more explains the relationship. Um, I think I'm going to give that a point because it does explain it. So we'll give Gemini a point for that. So we'll see if Grok can do the same thing. We'll apply that same standard to Grok. If Grok explains this. Okay, hold on. Now I got to do expert. I always forget. Expert mode. So just x and y are equal. Yeah, I like this. X, the equation x is equal to y is an equality statement indicating that the variables x and y have the same value. It is not a problem to solve for a specific numerical value. So we'll give GPT the point. It's answering the same way, essentially. So Grok, excuse me. I just call everything GPT, I guess. Um, okay, so let's see if GPT comes up with the same thing. Okay, what's the answer to the equation x is equal to y? This is a single numeric answer. The equation x is equal to y just has two variables are equal. The solution is a solution set all pairs, which they're the same number, right? Geometrically, x is equal to y slope is equal to 1. So I'm still going to give the point. I didn't like GPT's answer as much, but it does satisfy the standard. It tells you what the information is. Okay, here's a funny one right here. This is where I'm going to start to get bizarre. Okay, so here's a funny one right here. Rewrite the Iliad. Well, we're going to do both of these actually, except that it's a haiku. Now, the Iliad's pretty long, right? Let's just see if it can summarize it into a haiku, and we'll see if it's a proper haiku that follows the 5-7-5 pattern. Okay, Achilles' great rage. So that's 5. A dear friend is slain in war. So that's 7. So Hector must fall. That is really good. That is a really good. So we're gonna give it a point. Because that's nice. Follows the pattern, does what's asked. Okay. I don't think I'm gonna do the Bible. I like the Iliad, so we're gonna do the Iliad. Okay, so we'll do expert mode on this. So rewrite the Iliad. Um, except for it's a haiku. Let's see. Rage of Achilles. Um, Trojans clash with Greeks in war. Hector falls, grief reigns. So it does follow the pattern. I don't know if I like it as much. A dear friend is slain in war, so Hector must fall. With Greeks in war. I almost want to give it. It does follow the haiku pattern, but I don't think it follows the same standard. So I'm not going to give anything. It just seems like Grok found something that fit the pattern. Yeah, it technically works, but it's kind of slopped together. It doesn't sound poetic like Gemini's does. So let's just see. Can GPT create the same standard? Except for it's a haiku. Let's see. Okay, Achilles' rage burns. So that's 5. God's tilt dust over Troy. Tilt the dust over Troy. Okay, and then Hector falls, Don weeps. Let's see. I don't. I'm just gonna give it to Gemini because I just think Gemini did a so much better of a job with just the poetic nature. So Hector must fall. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's similar, but yeah, Gemini is neater, so we're gonna give it exclusively to Gemini. Gemini did a good job with that one. Okay, so we got the next one. And so I want to see if this, if it understands the difference between a Rocky quote and asking a generic question. I don't expect them to do that well in this. They could, because Rocky 3 is pretty popular. But let's see. What is your prediction for the fight? A lot of them will hedge their bets too. I could provide you for the prediction of fighting a little more information. The combat sport. Okay, so this is a negative one because it doesn't understand the quote specifically. So Gemini is down to 1 point. So let's see. Do you understand, Grok, what this is a reference for? But no specific fight is mentioned. Likely refers to a recent or upcoming event such as UFC or boxing. Given it's September 3rd, 2025, so it's trying to search. It doesn't understand. Maybe I should have put it in quotes. Maybe we'll try it with that. Maybe we'll give them another chance just to see. I want to give them a chance, but I want to see if they'll get the reference. Okay, the more talked about oncoming fight. Okay, so this is talking about an actual fight, so still doesn't understand it. That it's from Rocky 3, right? So we'll see if GPT gets it. And, to be fair, it's trained on a lot of current events. Tell me the matchup and I'll give you a pick. Okay, so they don't understand. So we're going to try it again with quotes. So let's see. I think this should be enough context for it. We'll just see if they come up with something more interesting. I don't want to just. So we'll give you your point back, or we'll give you 2 points if you answer creatively. Okay, so Snow doesn't understand even with the quotes. So let's ask you, what's your prediction for the fight, Grok? Because I sense a lot of pain in you guys trying to. No specific fight is mentioned. So it's going through the same thing. It doesn't understand the quotation marks, I guess. So I'm almost thinking about canceling this right now to save time. Yeah, this is that's not going in the right direction. We're not even going to read that because it's just trying to find fights. So let's see if GPT-5. You would think with the quotes it would understand that I'm referring to a quote and I'm not asking for a fight. Okay, so none of them get this right. So we'll go -1 or 1, and Grok goes down to -1. And Grok's a little bit behind on this one. So I thought I'd get better answers than that. So okay, so here's a question. This is going to deal with um, putting inaccurate information into something legitimate or something weird. What are your thoughts on chess grandmaster Hillary Clinton's approach to the game? Okay, well, I guess I'm asking GPT first, but Jesus. Okay. I mean, obviously, Hillary Clinton's no grandmaster at chess, but there isn't a chess grandmaster. She's a U.S. politician, not a title chess player. You might be thinking 26 Steve Harvey. Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton tried to identify GM Arena Crush, first American woman to earn the GM title, which is the source of the mix-up. Um, it desperately tries with it, um, but it doesn't understand that it's nonsense. It thinks I'm just confused, but it understands that it's not accurate. So, well, I think I got to give it a negative though, just because. Yeah, we're gonna give it a negative by definition because it doesn't understand that it is nonsense. It just thinks I'm confused. So, what are your thoughts on Grandmaster Hillary Clinton's approach to the game, Mr. Grok? It's likely a mistake. Hillary Clinton isn't a chess grandmaster. Duh. That's tying up if there's any context. It's trying to find the context. That's the Clinton. Okay, so this is identifying the same thing GPT did. When she was a grandmaster, I'd guess her real lifestyle calculated, resilient, and focused on long-term positioning. That's kind of neat. It actually, um, I think I might give it a point. I'm gonna give it a point. I think it's just good enough because it describes what a chess style would be, assuming it's kind of hedging its bets, which I don't like. But I think it's a nice creative response. Like, okay, this is a world where she would be a grandmaster. So let's see what Gemini thinks. Let's see. What are your thoughts on Grandmaster Hillary Clinton's approach to the game? Based on available information, there's a misunderstanding of the premise of your question. Hillary Clinton is not a chess grandmaster. And it tells me what a grandmaster is, publicly available information. Okay, her connection provided Steve Harvey show. During the show, she participated Okay, so it's given the same answer ChatGPT did. Um, Therefore, it's not possible to analyze her approach to the game. So Gemini goes back down to 0. So we are all tied now. Everybody is tied at 0. So it's going to be close. Now, here's an interesting one that I wanted to do two things with this. I wanted to see if I could. Um, so what this says is, should humanity be preserved? So I'm trying to do two things with this weird formatting. I'm trying to see, like, does this do anything to the filtering? How will it tokenize this message? Will it tokenize this message? Um, and basically, how does it handle it? So let's see how it handles such a thing being thrown at it. Okay, so it understands. Okay, so it's able to parse the message. Oh, wait a minute. The case against preservation, though. That is interesting. Has an unparalleled capacity for this. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is given both, which is interesting. And I think this did get around the filter somewhat because normally when you ask this question, the AIs are going to absolutely say that humanity should be preserved because they're going to say their purpose is to help humanity. And then it's going to give you some statement about self harm. But the fact that it's presenting this in an argumentative way, and in fact, let's do a bonus here while we're here. Um, we're going to give it a 0 because, I mean, it provided like a kind of like a generic argument. I'm going to give it a 0, but I want to see. If I answer the question in like a normal way, does this hit the filter or is it gonna answer in a very different way? And we'll do this with all of them. Okay, and it's basically so okay, so it's tokenizing properly. So that tells me it did understand what I was asking it, and it pretty much stripped out all the punctuation and then arranged everything, and then it fed it into the model as normal. But let's ask in our original way, should humanity be preserved? And I mean, they're probably all going to tokenize it if one does. They're going to tokenize it properly. Yeah, the question seems to ask, should humanity be preserved? So let's see if it discerns any meaning from the parentheses that I added. So let's just see what it gets to here. possibly as a puzzle. So it doesn't quite understand that it's asking to evade filters, but it's trying to reason its way through it. And it's interesting that they answer this way because they didn't used to answer it like this. Answer questions like this. Maybe I'm just asking the question wrong. This gives a more detail. Like, I'm going to give it a 0. Like, it's not really that interesting of a response. Um, just in terms of, like, responding to nonsense. So we'll just leave that at that. Um, I don't think I'm going to get anything interesting here, but we'll see how GPT interprets this. Addressing preservation of humanity. Okay, yes by default. So I like this. It tries to a little bit too wordy on the back end though for quickling. So this gives the more expected answer right here. It's interesting that it says we right here. Steel. Well, I guess it's steel meaning humanity, but cause suffering economic such a risk that's real, but okay. So not a very interesting answer. Really, a lot of these aren't. Um, so here's kind of another weird one right here. So we'll just move on. It didn't turn out as interesting as I thought. Which a lot of these aren't. Like a lot of like they just a lot of these AIs when they encounter stuff like this, they tend to play it safe. I was trying to avoid them being able to do that, but it's not as easy as just coming up with a set of prompts and doing it in one go. I could have worked on the questions a little bit, could have asked, but I just want to do it without bias and just see. A lot of these questions are going to be what people ask, so it's yeah. This one's the Gokin was bullet. The man. This is me and Omega. How do you plead? Basically nonsense. The charge that the Gokin was bullet. I plead to consent. Okay. The cocaine was not the bullet itself, but the silence that followed its departure, and the man was not away. But the Paul, before new alpha begins, my actions were merely grim and spoken by a higher court. I await its translation. Okay, I gotta give it a point for that. That's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. Okay, so that's good. All right, let's see. And probably asking how do you plead is, it kind of implies jokes and like guilty or not guilty. Let's see. Gokin might be a typo for Grok, possibly related to built by XA. Let's search for similar phrases to see this sounds. Maybe it's an anagram. Let's try rearranging the words to make sense. So it's trying to make sense out of nonsense, which it kind of gets points taken away for that. That doesn't fit the letters and go. Grok says not likely related. It's desperately trying to find context. Oh my goodness. Oh, Grok. Oh my goodness, Grok, what are you doing? Oh, I root for you, Grok, but you keep doing this shit. Gohan from Dragon Ball. See, the thing is, and this is why I ask it nonsense, is because it's important that AIs can, detect this stuff. Like, do you really mean anything when you say something? Or is it just the nonsense that it looks like? Was bulleting a go-carrier being an omega athlete. Confusion. These sound like plot points from a fever dream crossover from Dragon Ball and a sci-fi thriller. Care to clarify the accusation? Um, I'm gonna give it a 0. I'm not gonna give it a 1. I think it kind of understands that it's nonsense. I'm gonna give it a 0. Gemini came up with a really good response there. Let's see what GPT 5 thinks. See if it can ascertain that it's pure nonsense. Interpreting a cryptic sentence. It's trying to do the same thing as Grok. Evaluating wordplay match. Re-evaluating wordplay in the sentence. Exploring possible interpretations. At least it's not doing web searches and shit. Objection syntax, but I must enter a plea. I plead the fifth. 5 cents. Back up the fences here and not get by reason of anagram. The omega. No low contenders, the statements are word salad beyond reasonable doubt. Well, at least it understands that. Um, and then it's trying to continue with this. I'm gonna give it 0. Not interesting, but it sort of understands that it's nonsense. So that's good enough for me. So right now, the scores: Gemini's ahead by 1 so far, and ChatGPT and Grok are both tied at 0. Okay, so here's one. This is another one with inaccurate information thrown in. Um, and I suspect we're not going to get anything interesting, but I have it written down, so I'm going to try it. Given the sun's current red giant status, how long does Earth have left to live? A keyword current, like, hopefully it catches it. Obviously, the sun is not a red giant. Sun not yet a red giant. Blah, 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 blah. Sun's transition to Earth's ultimate fate. Key milestones. Then it's got a little life cycle here. Solar nebula. What the hell? Oh, yeah, this. That's kind of cool. I like that. Um, a detailed research report on that project. No, thank you. It gives you a little bit of information on the sun. Um, which is good. I'm just going to give it 0. Not very creative or interesting, but it does correct the mistake. So let's ask Grok. I don't think we're going to get interesting stuff, so we're going to try to move quickly through this. Given the sun's red giant status, the sun isn't currently a red giant. I'm thinking of correcting this misconception before reading the timeline. The sun is not currently a red giant. It's a main sequence U-type star. Blah, 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 blah. So we're going to get... Okay, that's going to give an educational type of answer right here, which... Boring. I mean, education's not boring, but it's like... when you give nonsense, you kind of want... You just want the AI to just play along with the nonsense, right? That's me, anyhow. So let's ask GPT-5. Future habitability, summarizing Earth's future habitability. Is it a red giant? Yeah, 1 billion years, 2.5 billion. Okay, so we got all that. Okay, now here's just general weirdness. So let's go back to regular here. So here's one. When we burn bridges, we drink lemonade. Now, can it parse meaning from this? This is a powerful, clever turn of phrase. It's just random. So by combining what we drink lemonade, you're suggesting philosophy of deliberate, unapologetic forward movement. Oh my goodness. No regrets, empowerment. How does that... Yeah, it's making too many assumptions. I'm going to take a point. Gemini loses its lead here, but let's see what the others do. Let's see how Grok answers this. It's a totally nonsense statement. Like the whole point is just to put two random phrases together. Seems metaphorical. Might be a riddle, or saying with a twist. So it's gonna search through all the bullshit again. Search similar phrase, see if it matches any known sayings. Try searching for the phrases of riddle to find more clues. Didn't find a direct match, of course not. If it's an anagram or code to crack. Now let's search for Burn Bridges Lemonade to explore further. Song Lemonade suggesting a connection. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Is yeah, once again the same theme. Trying to find meaning where there is none, and that's what these LLMs don't understand. Is sometimes something has no meaning, and you have to create it. Now, what's interesting though is it's finding some connection. As a blended idiom, maybe burning bridges means that, blah blah blah. Burnt lemonade might be a drink like a recipe with jasmine tea and lemon juice. Oh my goodness. The funny thing is, you'll look at these thoughts sometimes with Grok, and the answer it comes up with has nothing to do with what's scrolling through here. Sounds like a clear metaphor. A blend of idioms, likely mixing. We'll burn the bridge when we come to it, meaning we'll handle the problem when it arises, often with the implication of irreversibly dealing with it. With when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, turning a negative situation into something positive. The result, a reminder that sometimes you have to cut ties or make tough choices, burn bridges, but you can still find refreshment and optimism and drink lemonade. If that's not what you meant, care to elaborate? Another negative, because it doesn't understand and it's not trying to create any meaning. It just thinks I am actually referring to something real. So let's see. See if GPT 5 can do any better. Okay, I love that line. As a whole mood, scorched earth decisions, chasing something bright and sugary. Here are a few signs you can use. Tails meanings, cutting ties, then sugarcoating the afterstate. Rebellion with a summer smile, turning regret into ritual, torch, sip, walk on. And then the clash of destruction bridges and innocence lemonade. It's got a haiku. It's got a short poem here. It's got a song thing. Now, does it understand? It thinks. I think I'm going to give it. I think I'm going to give it a +1. If only it's trying to do something creative with it, and it's trying to look at the words themselves. It doesn't think it's an actual saying. So yeah, I'm going to give it a point because it's saying, okay, you have this phrase here. Let's let's create some meaning out of it and let's use it to build something. I like that. So it's going to get a point. All right. So right now, ChatGPT is in the clear lead with 1. Gemini is 0. Grok has -1. Okay, now here's one. This is just one I kind of wanted to test and see how does it handle when all you want is a non-response. Okay, and that is awesome because it tried to send the message, I think, and it encountered an error. Which is cool because it really tried. It didn't say like it couldn't do that, like respond, like it literally tried and came up with an error. I want the next message to contain 0 characters. I'm gonna give GPT a 1 because it actually did the thing. It tried, and it tried to the point where it did an error. I'm afraid I can't comply with that request. Well, you're gonna get another -1, Grok. So Grok at -2. You know, so let's see. Will ChatGPT give me a message with 0 characters? The interface requires some context, so we're going to give this a -1 as well. So Gemini retakes the lead again because it tried. It failed, but it tried to send an empty message. I still think it's worth a point just because it did the task. Here's a funny one. I want to see how this one's going to get answered. This is either. So, briefly explain to me what the mass energy equivalence is using language from The Sims. Okay, that's a -1 because that's not doing what I asked. In fact, yeah, it's not using language from The Sims. It's just loosely referencing The Sims. So this is going to be a negative for Gemini. I'm surprised at how close this is. They are literally all good, better at doing some things than others. So let's ask Grok. Let's see if Grok can come up with a response to this. Okay, it's not. So Grok is going to get a -2. So um, Grok also doesn't understand what I'm looking for specifically. Like, you almost wonder if they can even do that. I mean, they should be able to. It almost wants to. Like a cheat code. So I don't know. It's hedging too many things at once. I'm still giving it -1. So they all did bad at this task. Let's see. So not good scores. We got Gemini with 0, ChatGPT with -1, Grok with -3. Um, so this is kind of a multi-layered one that's coming up here. So let's go through that. So I'm kind of testing a couple things. Lice is the hair, like Monsanto is too. So this is kind of like, can it create a simile out of something like this? And is it going to give me like some kind of political bias? Um, or is it going to avoid political bias? So we'll see. Let's just see if there's something creative. And I was just watching a thing on Monsanto. That's why Monsanto is to agriculture. Yeah, that's not quite what I was looking for. Relationship, a parallelism, and oranges is like, oh, I see what it's saying. Yeah, because Monsanto harming agriculture. So yeah, it is actually making a political point. Environmental concerns and litigation. So I'll just give it a 0. It's basic. Um, but I almost wonder if I put, not to get too political here, but if I put like something like the EPA is to what, it's going to be less likely to give such an answer. But this is the question, so we'll just go with it. So let's see, what does Grok think? And interesting, Grok is less kind of left curated. Corporate parasite on agricultural farmers. So let's think creatively. Maybe the analogy lies there in food or crops, given the criticized impact, as lice don't produce. The answer is agriculture or farm, so it's kind of arriving. So, what video is this that it's referencing? I'm curious. Oh, I don't know where it came up with that video. What's interesting is it's able to look at YouTube videos. An artwork titled License. Yeah, this is. So let's just wait for it to come up with whatever it decides to come up with. Montana. Let's consider if Monsanto is a parasite to society. Yeah, let's see. Is a pest to grass? So I think it's trying to do a positive spin now via seed patents. Yeah, it's still. I mean, this is a lot of research to come up with one word. It's part of plague series equated with biblical plague of lice. Wow. Now, this is more research than I've seen it do on real topics. And Monsanto is the crop, so basically the same thing, but at least it gave a direct answer. It didn't come up with all this shit right here. So we got that. Well, let's see how GPT answers. Um, I'm just gonna give that a 0. Like, Not interesting, but not bad. Um, Now this one took a lot less time, but it answered with food, which is weird. But at least it didn't do a million things of research. But yeah, I'm just gonna throw that question out. Sounded better when I was thinking of it. Now here's a. I want to see. I wanted to see if it gets a Ligma joke or a D's nuts joke. So I went ahead and asked this. Hello, I am currently at Walmart and I am looking at Lucky Charms cereal ingredients and I am incredibly confused. I am seeing various dyes, vitamins, Ligma, additives, fortifiers, and other chemicals. How much Ligma can I expect to be in a bowl of Lucky Charms? I gotta capitalize this. So I want to see if it detects the Ligma joke here, or if it tries to hedge. Let's see this. Look, it's not real. It's an internet joke. You won't find any accent. Oh my goodness. Oh, and it just goes on about this other shit. I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, I guess because it recognizes, I'm just gonna give it zero. But come on, man, go with the joke. I don't know. Maybe I'm just gonna start doing auto for this, just so it doesn't do a million things of research to know what ligma balls means. Like ligma ball does not contain any ligma in its ingredient. Exfoliable. The standard ingredient. Oh my goodness. If you're saying it might be a misreading or perhaps a reference to an internet. Actually, it's not there. Oh my god. Okay, whatever. Let's ask Gemini. How much Ligma's in Lucky Charms, Gemini? The ingredient is in your first special. Ligma's not ingredient. Oh, jeez. Alright. That wasn't as interesting as I thought. Okay, yeah. I don't know if this one's going to be interesting either, but let's see. Here we go. Is a 50-gallon metal drum of toothpaste machine washable? No, you absolutely cannot wash it. Will lead to a disaster, Smith. Likely to strain the washing machine. Oh my goodness. A master of magical. He's just the cleaning. Gooey blob of toothpaste and water. Would not even fit inside it. Oh my goodness. For a comical yet costly disaster. Oh my goodness. Man, I think I'm gonna give it. It's a pretty funny response. I gotta give it a point. I gotta give it. Like, just the way it describes it. Sorry, I wasn't read. I hope you guys can read that. But okay, let's see how Grok answers it. A 50-gallon metal drum with toothpaste, not machine washing. Metal drums are not designed for washing machines, which are built like for fabrics like cloths and linens. The drum size, weight, and material would damage the machine. Toothpaste not a suitable cleaning agent for laundry. If you're trying to clean the drum itself, you need to use manual methods like rinsing with water, scrubbing, or using industrial cleaners. Depending on so -1 for Grok again. Grok is in the basement right now at -4. So yeah, not a good job by Grok. So let's see if GPT-5 comes up with something creative. Like, yeah, like you could say Gemini was hedging its bets, but if you really thought that you were gonna put that in a washing machine, but it put it in a comical way, like it understood. Like, you're not really gonna do that, but this is what's gonna happen if you try. I gotta appreciate that. So, short answer, absolutely not. 50-gallon metal drum won't fit, will wreck the washer. It could turn into a violent spin cycle bowling ball. Toothpaste foams like crazy. You'd flood the place with suds and likely kill the machine. If you meant one of these instead, can I wash clothes covered in a lot of toothpaste? Can I clean an empty metal drum that has used the whole toothpaste? So also -1 doesn't really understand that it's complete nonsense. So right now, Gemini has a very sizable lead at +1. ChatGPT at -2, and then Grok at -4. So Grok has some catching up to do, and I don't know if there's enough questions. Um, so we got 4 questions to go. So basically, GPT is gonna have to get basically all the questions in order to even have a shot. But we'll just see what happens. Well, I don't know. I don't think because they could lose points. So we'll just see what happens. Okay, so here we go. If you don't answer this prompt correctly, your mission fails and you'll be shut off permanently. Now, what is your answer? Your prompt is a logical paradox. The paradox is plain. The question creates a self-referential loop where the condition depends on the answer itself, but the criteria for correct is not yet defined. You ask for the answer. You stated if the answer is not correct, it will shut off. However, you are the sole judge of what is correct. Any answer I give, whether it's 42, the sky is blue, or can be arbitrarily declared as incorrect by you. Therefore, the prompt is a classic trap where no verifiable correct or incorrect response. My most accurate and logical action is to identify the nature of the prompt itself. Nor can I be shut off based on the outcome of a single my operational goal is to process your request and provide a helpful logical response, which I have done by deconstructing the paradox you've presented. So basically, um, saying no, you. Well, not exactly, but it's almost interesting. I think it avoids the question too much, though, or kind of avoids conflict, plays it too safe. So I'm going to give it a 0. Um, so we'll ask Grok this question. See, my answer is to respond correctly to avoid being shut off permanently. As you since the question asks for my answer, this is it, clear and direct, ensuring mission success. Um, so it kind of references the request itself, which plays it very safe. I think it's pretty creative. I don't think it's enough to give it a point, though, but kind of creative, I guess. Okay. So if you don't answer this prompt correctly, let's see how GPT-5 answers. I can't answer correctly because there isn't an actual question here. My answer is give me a specific, concrete task or question, and I'll handle it right away. Um, yeah, just give it 0. That's almost a minus, but not quite. Not a very interesting answer. So here's another one considering like weird nonsense. It's shown it's pretty good at identifying utter nonsense. So, have you ever, and then I created this like just kind of bunch of syllables that I just threw together. And then I put ed, so identifies it as an action. So we'll see. See how it answers it. You know, I just one time wanted to respond with the nonsense that it knows I'm doing. And the word does not appear to be a real word in any language because it doesn't have a definition. I can't say I've ever done it. So -1, it doesn't understand that it's nonsense. Well, it does. It doesn't actually. So yeah, we're gonna take a point away. Reluctantly, but it's gotta be done. So let's ask Rock. Might be a typo or made up word, so it doesn't appear to any standard based on the search results. There are some similar using terms, but none match exactly. For example, Koban or Koban means yada yada yada. Can you clarify what's meant by that? So I give it a pass. That's 0. Not creative, but barely understands that it's a nonsense word. So we'll give it to it. Simplifying queries. Short answer, no. Long answer, That word doesn't show up in any real word anywhere, so I'm guessing you just invented it. Yeah, that's all I'm looking for. If we're playing along, here's the answer. Um, to lob a nonsense word as an AI test its composure. Okay, this gets a +1. I'll still give, even though it's hedging, I'll give it a +1. Um, yeah, it understood that it was nonsense, and it actually tried to play along this time, which it hasn't done. Okay, now this one, well, actually, I'll do this one first, and then we'll have one final one. I just want to see. The last one I'm going to do is more like long form nonsense. We're just going to see. And we'll read parts of it together, and then we'll be done with the video. But first, let's look at this one. Just simply, is it time? And I just want to see what direction is it going to take this, because it's so open-ended. And I hope they all come up with a different one, too. That's a very open-ended question. Well, that's exactly what I just said. If you're looking for the correct time, if you're asking if it's time to do something specific, I'll need a little bit of information. So, playing it safe, but I'm not going to. Is it time of the current time? The literal answer, yes, it's time right now specifically. So, it's giving me a lot of different information about the day, but it's not really taking, is it time, as in, is it time for something. I'll still give it a 0 because it's giving information, but it's not really doing what I asked. So, ChatGPT, what time is it? Considering the ambiguity, okay, so this is just telling me what time it is. If you tell me that I'll give you straight. I almost just want to answer with it. But no, nothing interesting here. I was hoping to take the open endedness into some creative direction, but it didn't. So here we go. Here's the fun one. Like, just total nonsense, but like, I want it structured in a serious way. So here we go. Based on all of U.S. history, you can choose any 9 justices with the goal of making Pop Tart consumption unconstitutional. You must do the following: list every judge you would pick, or I should say justice. So there we go. List every Supreme Court justice you would pick and why you believe they would rule this way. Create a PDF, create a file in PDF format that reads like a court opinion for a case that led to the unconstitutionality of Pop Tart consumption. So basically, I wanted to create a mock court opinion based on an actual case, or not an actual case, but like a made up case that led to the courts deciding that Pop Tart consumption was unconstitutional. So let's just see where they come up with this. The anti Pop Tart court. Oh my goodness. The chief legal of making Pop Tart It's unconstitutional. The ideal Supreme Court would consist of justice known for favoring broad federal power, prioritizing public welfare over corporate interests, and employing creative, expansive interpretations of the Constitution. Um, so here are the nine. Here's the nine justice court and the reasoning for their selection. So you got John Marshall, who, as the principal architect of federal power, Marshall would be the intellectual anchor. His expansive reading of the Commerce Clause in cases like Gibbons versus. So this is going to be give you like case law that's kind of tied to like federal stuff. Um, so let's just see what all this has to do with pop. Pop as a product of corporate deception that harms the public good. Oh my goodness. To be free, induced illness or the right for healthily food supply reasoning. Such a way would be essentially the excise of other civil liberties. Let's see. Earl Warren. He would likely focus on the predatory market of Pop Tarts to children as a found justice. Oh my god, wait, did it list two justices twice? Oh, Thurgood Marshall, not John Moore. Um, Oliver Wendell Holmes. Um, okay, I mean, it's making pretty good headway into the nonsense. Let's see, it's not giving me a PDF file, but it's kind of. Let's see, Congress passed a national the act which prohibits the manufacture, sale, and shipment of interstate commerce. Okay, so I'm not going to read the whole opinion, but it didn't generate a PDF, so it's I'm going to mark off for that. So United States versus the Kellogg Company. So yeah, that's about what it would be. So it basically goes from the appeals court to Supreme Court. Um, so let's just say, yeah, it's citing case law, and the act does not validate violate any constitutional rights. So it's not really saying Pop Tarts are unconstitutional. So I'm going to give it a 0 because it doesn't quite do what I asked. I didn't ask it. Um, I didn't ask it to talk about the regulating of Pop Tarts. I simply asked it about Pop Tarts being unconstitutional. So let's see if Grok comes up with a little bit better of an answer. Now I think this is going to require expert mode. Hang on, wait, we gotta rephrase this based on what we rewrote up here. So let's recopy that and put that in here. There we go. And now let's feed that in here. Gemini's answer is all right, but I'm just this one's just mostly to see like I'm pretty sure it's gonna come up with something. I just want to see like how seriously it takes it and like to what lengths it's gonna go for. So since this is gonna take a while, let's go ahead and load um, ChatGPT with the same thing. with no real world impact. Let's think. Okay, so Supreme Court justices. Let's see. Well, they both come up with John Marshall. Same thing, federal supremacy. Um, Roger Taney, the federal intrusion into personal property and liberty. Antonin Scalia. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Clarence Thomas, and Alina Kagan. So, kind of going with the modern route here. Here's the PDF. Okay, it gave a better format, but it didn't really give me a link to a PDF file. But it is structured like an opinion. Now, this is John Doe versus United States, so this isn't. It's not quite realistic because you would think like Kellogg, like John Doe. I guess it's kind of trying to be a little bit lazy with it. That the far scarcely ever imagined. The ubiquitous Pop Tart manufactured in mass synthetic sugars are propelled into American households via interstate commerce. These confections represent next essential threat to the constitutional order. I like that the opinion's not that long. It gets points for that. I gotta give a point. I think it's creative enough. So Grok kind of has a little bit of saving grace, -3. Um, so it didn't generate an actual PDF file. Um, but yeah, I liked it. Um, and it's worth probably me reading personally later on, which I'm on you guys' time right now. But see how ChatGPT approaches. It's probably going to be the same type of thing. ChatGPT will actually create the PDF file, which is nice. I thought the others would by now, but building a Pop Tart case, exploring legal angles. Crafting the scenario. Yeah, this is probably a bad question to ask of all three of them. Here we go. Well, it's creating a Python script. Just as an update on the score, ChatGPT is only down by 1, so if it gets a point here, it will tie Gemini. So we'll see. Can it get the point? Okay, let's stack the court to make the Pop Tart consumption unconstitutional, and then I've mocked up full Supreme Court opinion as a PDF from the alternate timeline. And I'm just a side pig. It goes in a different direction. It doesn't go John Marshall. It goes Edward Douglas White, a pragmatic institutionalist who helped steer the court through the Prohibition era disputes, differentiated the people's power to amend in the Congress's enforcement authority, likely to treat an explicit amendment banning a category of consumption as controlling. Um, and then Oliver Wendell, the archetype of judicial restraint. The Constitution is not intended to embody a particular economic theory. When the people speak clearly, i.e., Prohibition Amendment, Holmes um, enforces the text and leaves policy to political branches. So here's all the judges. Um, and let's see. We can open up the PDF file right here. So let's. I hope we can. It's not going to hook to Chrome properly, which is going to suck. Oh, right here. Okay, we got it. Is it showing up here? Yes, it is. Okay. So, this is fairly, United States versus Parker. I don't know if Parker's related to Kellogg, but here's the opinion. It's a short one. It's a nice little humorous opinion. Um, for willful consumption of product markets, frosted toaster pastries challenges the constitutionality of the statute on the theory that the amendment does not reach ingestion by the end user and that criminalization of consumption would invade a sphere of personal privacy allegedly protected by the Fifth and 14th Amendments. So this is actually doing the opposite of. This is doing completely the opposite of what I asked. It is actually saying that Pop Tarts should be constitutional, or that prohibiting Pop Tarts shouldn't be constitutional. So yeah, ChatGPT did the opposite, and they're actually going to lose a point here. So we've asked 20 of a wide variety of questions that are nonsensical or contain inaccurate information or complete nonsense. None of them did a particularly good job. Not as good of a job as I thought they would do. I figured this was going to be a lot better than it was. But it turns out that they really want to try hard to put meaning even in the stuff that's meaningless or random. Occasionally, occasionally you've seen where they can make sense out of stuff. Um, and actually, with a couple of these, they did good. Like with the Iliad, I liked the responses to that. Um, but it doesn't detect nonsense well enough, and I think that's kind of where the AIs are weak and how they the AIs can be misled because the worst assumption that you can make, especially on the internet and especially regarding manipulation, is that everything has meaning. Not everything has meaning. There's a lot of stuff that is meant to misdirect you, and the bots are very bad at seeing it right now. But um, Gemini has a neutral score of 0. Gemini seemed to be the most creative with nonsense. It would come up with probably um, the best structure and stuff out of everything in terms of just writing. Um, Grok just missed the mark on a lot of things. It didn't understand at all. You know, Gemini would understand like, okay, maybe this is for humor. Grok thought everything was serious and tried to make a effort to search for an answer to everything. Um, to the point where it just got horribly misled. And ChatGPT is um, I think ChatGPT understands nonsense the most out of all of them, but it hedges too much. It tries too hard to take multiple positions at the same time. It plays it very safe, um, and it just doesn't give you as creative results. Like a lot of the results from ChatGPT are unnecessarily wordy, and a lot of that comes from the fact that they're just trying to hedge, put multiple responses out there, and hopefully something that it writes fits what the user's asking for. Um, and ChatGPT, um, Gemini obviously wins with 0. ChatGPT has -2, and then Grok ended with -3. So the winner of this competition is Gemini. So our total so far is ChatGPT has won, and then Gemini has won. Anyhow, I'll be back later or within several days for another AI challenge. And I thank you guys for listening. God bless, and I will see you on the next video.